Here we go again. It's part two of Conversations at the Crossroads on this. It's a Good Friday. That's what I call it. It's a Good Friday. I'm your host. If you don't know me, D. Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International. I want to say thank you so much. Did you get a chance to see part one that uploaded this afternoon? If not, you owe it to yourself. What a transformative, in my opinion, what a transformative conversation that we had, and we're going to continue tonight. At the beginning, you know the spill. Please like, please subscribe. I want to share with you what I shared with the earlier audience, and that is that we get notifications from Google of how we're doing. And Google sent us something, said you're snatching it. Our views are way, 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 way up, but it doesn't reflect in our likes and in our subscribes. So I'm asking you, come out of the book. Nobody's going Please, we're trying to grow this channel. We have so much great content on this channel, Wake Up Global TV. You can just smash the subscribe button, smash the like, and then take a link and share it in your contacts. That's all we're asking you to do if you don't mind. And of course, I want to make sure that you enjoyed last night. Yes, you didn't. Wait a minute, where you been? You ain't hear about it. It was our debut of Life Alive Bible Study. It's the place where the word comes alive and gave new life. And I want to say thank you for all of the comments that were shared. We are here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Bible study. And don't let that word Bible study, it's not a Sunday school lesson. We go deep. We went deep. We go prophetic. We're talking about now how to make this global shift, how to prophetically be in alignment with the global shift that's happening. And I talk about so much. I ain't gonna get into that because I want to get into what we got into tonight. And again, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This is part two. We did the first three therapeutic conversations from the 7 last sayings on the cross this afternoon. Go back and watch it if you have not. You can do that. And we'll continue tonight. I want to give you a chance. I want to hear where you're from. Welcome. Where are you listening from? What state? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? And I want to say I hope you're having a great weekend. Many all across the world celebrating the resurrection of Jesus this weekend. Though we know it did not happen in this sequence. Right. I'm not going into that. And much material on that. But today, this is a conversation. And if you weren't in on this afternoon's, we're talking through the reflection points as we are at a crossroad, as Jesus was at a crossroads as he hung, excuse me, on the cross. And I say that those 7 sayings were more inner reflection points. There were conflicts that he had to resolve. And so I want you to sit back. And as we examine Jesus's reflection points, and we're going to make it real time. I'm not going back into the Bible days as such. I use the scriptures and references. But more importantly, as I said this afternoon, as you and I are on the brink of a global shift, global collapse, where the whole world has changed, we're entering into a new era, we have completed a new era. Every one of us, this country, this nation, nations, are at a crossroads. And as I said this afternoon, that a crossroad is when I finished the path that I was on. There is another path that I must take. But only one is a path marked with destiny for me, prophetic destiny. And that's the path that I must choose among all the other paths that are before me, because they're not destiny, they're opportunities, but they're not necessarily destiny. So go back and look at, I get into that I lay a foundation in part one this afternoon that I don't want to lay because I have one more word more this evening than I had this afternoon. So we're sad that these conversations, these therapeutic self-talk conversations are essential before we go to our next path. Excuse me. We must resolve some things. We must talk about something. In the afternoon, we covered the area of forgiveness. Then second, based on his second saying, we covered who would go with us. Only one thief was chosen. And then closing out a chapter through honoring those who helped us get to where we are. But they're not qualified to go to where we're going. And we talked in depth about that. And so I want to pick up this fourth conversation that we have to have tonight. Like this, please share this. I appreciate you being here so much. This fourth word demands a conversation of true honesty and true transparency. Now, all of these words do, but this word here, only the real can have this conversation. The religious can't have this conversation. The traditional can't, they're not going to have this conversation. And this fourth self-talk, internal, introspective conversation deals with the fact, God, when I do cross over, can I trust you're going to be with me? Are you sure you're going to be with me going down this new path? When in actuality, there are a lot of times on the old path, I felt you had forsaken me. I told you only the real. Come on, there it is. Because a lot of us feel like this, but religion is not to verbalize. But if I'm going to be whole, if I'm going to be free, if I'm going to clear the past, if I'm going to deal with the trauma, there's some hard conversation that I have to have with and in myself and with and in spirit. So this fourth conversation is raw that Jesus has. Because I'm at this crossroad. I'm going where I've never gone. I'm leaving where I've known, excuse me, the areas I've been comfortable with. And I got a question. Can I trust that you're going to be with me? Because I got to be honest. There were things that happened on that last path that it felt like you had left me, else those things wouldn't have happened. Matthew 27:46. About 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God. Watch this. My God, why you forsake me? Jesus? Because I told you this afternoon that all of these sayings, I believe, we heard the conversation, but it was Jesus' process that was going on. And he let us in on his conversation. If I do this, Are you going to be there? Because you're asking me to do something big. You're asking me to leave where I'm at, what I know, who I'm familiar with for 3.5 years, and go to this place, right? And I know what you're going to say. Well, he's been there, but humanity had not. And go to this place. Ah, well, I always knew God with me. I'm glad you did. Because there were times in my life that I said the same. If you with me, just put in the chat. YouTube. If you always know, you can sit there for now. Because you go through this contradiction of what God being with you should be like, that you were told it would be like, versus really what it's like. And so the biggest hesitation as we all face this crossroad, we're all at this crossroads, most of us face when the Spirit is shifting us, the biggest hesitation, when the Spirit is fitting us to go to the next prophetic path, mark for destiny, to go to this new space that we're unfamiliar with, is how is that going to work out? Especially since traditionally it is not the norm that God shows us the process. See, it's not the end that we're worried about. It's the process. If I knew what was going to happen, then I could trust you. But since you were holding, so, is that too real for you? If so, there's somewhere else. You withholding too much info. God doesn't reveal the detail. That's the nerve wrecking. That's the part I have to process. I got everything set in place. My family is comfortable. My employment is comfortable. I have outstanding position. I'm just saying. In community, I went to school. I earned this. I built this business. Now you're asking me to do something different, to go somewhere. I don't know. I gotta process what that looks like. You know, that's a big buzzword. What is this gonna look like? Because everybody wants to know what it's gonna look like. Let me go further. And this is really a big ask for me to cross over into a new path. It's a really big ask for those of us who have often faced and dealt with abandonment. Because come on, y'all, come on. I told you this is not your traditional. No, come on. This is this is self therapy. Because even though we're looking at Jesus, we're processing this ourselves. Somewhere Jesus felt the spirit of abandonment. And so it's a big ask when you want me to bungee jump and hit the floor when I've done it. Nobody has been there to save me, and I made a crash landed, and I ain't too sure that that's not going to happen again. So the question is, if I really don't trust people, because that's a people trusting you. Why did you save me? And I'm not interested in the religious interpretation of all this. I'm not interested. I'm interested in what it means in our everyday life. Historically, I'm not interested in just Why didn't you catch that? That's synonymous with why did you forsake? Why did you let me jump out there and you did not catch me? Why weren't you there for me? So I have a big hesitancy because if I convictingly can't trust that people will show up for me who I see, how can I really be confident that a spirit that I can't see, and this is the reflection point that all, whether we want to admit it or not, that all of us goes through in this fourth conversation. Nobody will say it. I've never heard it said. I'm not saying it hasn't been said, but I've never heard it said that Jesus was working through some trust issues. I didn't say with who, but Jesus is working through to holler that out. Leela, why did you forsake me? That's a trust issue. In other words, maybe if you were really with me, I wouldn't be going through this. Maybe if you were really with me, I wouldn't have suffered this. And we all get to that, and we got to work past that because trust issues are keeping most of us. We learn it from a child, but it's enforced as an adult. It's planted as a seed. When you say you're going to do something and you don't, and you never explain why you could not do it as a child. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Remember, this is Congress. And so here's the question before I cross over. And I need a solid answer. If I leave everything I know, if I leave the ones that helped me, as we said earlier, that got me to this point, that can't go with me, and I go to this new path marked for destiny, will you be with me? Father, that's a yes or a no answer. Have we shared this yet? And until you and I can resolve that, there's no moving. Because you have to move forward by faith. Because you're not going to get this. You're not going to get what the process is going to be like. You're simply going to get the end declared from the beginning. In other words, you know where you're going to end up at. But how the GPS vectors you around all of the construction, you don't know that. And you'll never know that. And so therefore, I must stay at the crossroad until I can resolve. I'm fine without knowing all. As long as I know you will be with me. I don't want to crash land. So before we can take this path marked for destiny, I've got to work through becoming secure. It is, come in, come in the fact that Spirit's presence is with you regardless of the best result. I must work through the fact and understand that the Spirit's presence is with me and in me regardless of the outcome. That if I take up, I'm just saying, if I do have a correction, Spirit is still with me and in me, and that crash was a lesson. But anyway, I don't want to get it. I want to stay in. So now I get into the fifth conversation. And this demands a true, honest answer. This fifth conversation before you can cross over. We're at the crossroads. And that is, what is your level, my level of thirst for more? crossing over to my next prophetic path of destiny, it's not about maintaining the status quo. It's not about the buzzword, quote unquote, just going to a new level. It's not it. But it's realizing that I'm being called to more. One of the things I know, nobody likes to be stressed. Nobody likes to do what they haven't done. Nobody likes to try. But we want to go to new levels. We 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 want to do we want new experiences, but we don't want to be stretched out of our comfort. It's idiotic. No such thing. St. John 19:20. Have you shared this yet? Go to a new level and share. Subscribe. Later, knowing that everything had not been finished, had now rather been finished, so that the scripture would be fulfilled, Yeshua said, I am thirsty. He said, I'm thirsty. So it's not bad when somebody said, look at them, they all thirsty and stuff. They all, look at her, she thirsty. Look at him, he thirsty. No, not that kind of thirsty. But are you thirsty? For what? But anyways, Jesus said, I'm thirsty, not for natural water. Put this in the chat. The next leg of our journey will only be I know it's a lot, will only be as fulfilling as our degree of thirst with wanting more. Let me say that again. The next leg of our journey will only be as fulfilling as our thirst for wanting more. So the next part of my journey, the crossing over, is not about wanting more. That's not about wanting more. I'm called to cross over. It's destiny. I'm not volunteering. If it were up to me, I would stay in the spot. I'd stay in the company. I stay where I know that I'm being called. See, destiny calls you. You don't choose. I don't choose destiny. Destiny chooses us. I'm being called to cross over. But it's not about just crossing over, going to the next level. I'm going to the next dimension. No, that's words. It's about wanting more than just wanting more. It's wanting more, but here's the apex of it. But taking on the responsibility of embracing more. People say, I'm going to the next level. That's one of the most famous things in religion. I'm going to the next level. They never say, I'm ready for next level responsibility. Jesus was moving to next level responsibility. What? Ministering to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, to being intercessor, high priest over everybody. To being he was moving into his high priestly mood. More responsibility, because he only had 10,000, 5,000 in his earthly. I'm now ministering over multiple billions. High priest, intercessor. You get what I'm saying? So it wasn't just I'm moving to a new path. I'm embracing more responsibility. That's cool. So now I'm having this conversation. I need to be prepared. I need to make some arrangements. Things are going to change as I move into more responsibility, as I'm called for more. What does that look like in me? What are the changes, the adjustments that I need to make in me? Because every call to growth, every call to more demands change and growth. And you will experience, I will experience the fulfillment of the next level at the level of your thirst. He, she that is hungry, she that is thirsty shall be filled. But at the level of that thirst is the level of responsibility. And Jesus understood. We love promotion, but not so much responsibility. That's another message. That's you can have yourself. How bad do you want more? Because going to the other side means more of everything. Share this. I hope you're being helped. The sixth conversation can only take place after serious introspection. The sixth conversation is undergirded by the prior five conversations. St. John 19:30, when he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is." With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Now you see why you cannot get to this point until you have wrestled with the prior five. This conclusion, because that's what this sixth conversation is about, this conclusion comes after you've been in therapy for a while, after you've worked through forgiveness, after you've worked through who can go with you, after you work through the weight of responsibility for the next level. This conversation comes because of the other. You arrive at this conversation. You've worked through a lot of issues, and as a result, we come to the divine resolve that out of all of my apprehensiveness, out of all of my wanting to know the details, out of all of my hesitation to move forward, that the steps it is that I'm about to take when I cross over into my new divine destined path has been already carved out before I arrived on the planet. It's that I'm not really starting anything. I'm just completing what's been started. I'm just kind of walking in the foot. But this comes through maturity. This understanding comes through growth. That when I really think about it, and now I can see it clear because I've been out of this stuff in prior therapeutic work. The new path is no different than the old path. It's just a new path. I didn't know what I was getting into when I walked that path, but I made it to the end. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I got some bumps and bruises, but I made it to the end. Because the steps, I'm not going to preach. Understand this therapy of a good man or woman that's been ordered. That's like you order pizza, pepperoni, extra cheese. So when it gets there, you're not surprised because you ordered it. The path and the steps have been ordered. Now, it takes us some time to learn that and understand that God has declared the end from the beginning. So the sixth word is, I'll be honest, y'all, it's been a long, I've been in therapy a long, but it's not until I got to the sixth word, it's the first time I've been able to sense a degree. It took me getting to this sixth word to sense a degree of comfort, knowing that I really don't figure it out. I just have to walk it out. There's another one. Walk it out. I just have to walk. But again, that took it took asking some, wrestling with some stuff and coming up with resolution and asking the hard questions of God. And, yeah. And so finally, I want you to share this. I want you to share this. After all of this lengthy process, pondering, sorting out my issues, eventually, if you want more, you come to this point where Jesus came to. And that's in Luke 23:46. Jesus called out with a loud voice. There was a free voice. There was, I'm free. I'm done in and of myself. Father, into your care, I commit my spirit. I feel the release, right? Anxiety, the worry, the frustration, the fear, the wondering, the wrestle is done. I've worked through all of it at the cross. When he said this, he breathed his last breath. This is the reflection point that this whole purpose of the world was to live. This was the purpose, to arrive at this. And the seventh is not even a conversation. It's simply a declaration of surrender. It's not an easy journey. But this whole therapeutic self-talk system was hopefully so we could end up at this place where we say, Father, into your care, I commit my spirit, and breathe our last breath, not our last natural breath, but our energy of worry, care, frustration, where I take my last breath of trying to figure it out, work it out. And I say with my last breath, nevertheless, not my will be done, but thine. Where God guides you, he provides. See, the sixth and seventh word is for the mature, it's for the ones who have grown, it's for the ones who have thought. to understand what's happening in their life. And then gave up his breath. Bowed his head. I'm done. And he was positioned to move to his next assignment, which would be to descend into the lower parts of the earth. Wow. I'm going to ask you a question as we close. Are you ready? Are you ready to go to the other side? The other side is waiting for you. You're not waiting for it. It is waiting for you. But have you had these conversations? It's necessary to clear. I bid you stay at the crossroads. Don't take your trauma. Don't take your disappointment. Don't take your spirit of abandonment. Don't take your spirit of dishonor. Don't whatever it is we need to work out. It's at the cross that we work at. And I speak life. I speak prosperity. And I speak success into your next prophetic, destined path that you are assigned. Spirit, we thank you for breathing life into this conversation. Not one person will go untouched, untouched. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you have considered your time being an investment tonight and this afternoon. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Please make sure that you go to our social media page, Global Media. Follow us on IG, Global Media. We're somewhere on Facebook. All of that information is at the bottom of the screen. And then go to our website, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com. I am going to ask, if you've been blessed, would you consider sowing a seed, any amount, into Wake Up Global Network? We believe that we are good ground, that God has given us a commission to go global, to awaken the nations, and to minister life to people. And so if you've been blessed, the way you can give is on the screen tonight. We thank you so much. We believe again that the return will come to you. But we want to say thank you. Whatever, no amount is too small. No, of course, no amount is too large. But those giving platforms, make sure you go and stay connected. That's why I said subscribe to Wake Up Global TV so that you can enjoy all of our content. We have some beautiful content, some uplifting. It's funny, it's educational, it's challenging. We have fun right here on Wake Up Global TV. I want to say thank you to our executive assistant, Prophetess Kiara Rowley and her team, and for all that they do to bring these presentations for you. Don't forget, second Sunday, I believe that's next Sunday, 12 noon, every second Sunday, 12 noon, we have our live, The Awakening experience for 1 hour, and people are being blessed, and it is growing. We are here to grow. That's what we've been talking about. We are here to grow. Bible study, that's right. Life Alive. Again, next Thursday. Just, oh yes, bring people. Oh yes, life. Oh yes, set you. Oh yes, praying, interceding, the lessons, thoughts, your words. Until, excuse me, until next time, this is D Foster 3 reminding you that he has risen, as the scripture says. What about